We're going to look at the common section, which kind of does the global stuff across the synthesizer. So right now we have A and B. Then the common section is where we do some global stuff like unison and morph assignments and pitch bend and the way it works when it's working in mono mode, and also your plugin settings such as the setting for semitone changes. You might want to give a transpose to it or do some slight retuning, MIDI controllers and things like that. So let's go over it in some detail. The first thing is unison. So right now I've got a very basic sound. What unison does is it basically stacks the sound together. So go unison part A, and straight away that very basic waveform. So I've got two voices being used for it and detune on it. Straight away we get a much thicker sound. So we had four voices. And then we can pan it as well. Make it nice and big. And if you detune it too far, go for 8 voices. Very nice for lead sounds. You can hear how big it can get. So that's unison mode. We'll take it back down again and detune and pan back. Now there's one thing I wanted to say earlier. If you want to ever get stuff back to its default position within any plugin within Pro Tools, you just hit the Alt key and click on it. And you see there, it'll all go back to its default position. So that's unison. We have that for part A and part B. We can use that on. Then we have the global pitch of a voice. Now that's handy because if you come into like any section A, you'd have oscillator 1 and 2 and 3. Now if you wanted to change all of those very quickly, for example, rather than going semi, semi, semi here, you can come into the common section and do it here. And of course tune it as well. Of course hit the Alt key again and click and it's back. Then we have the pitch modulation, of course. How do we want to modulate it? So, for example, we can use the mod wheel, give it a bit of depth. Can do the modding there, make it extreme. Of course, we could choose an LFO instead. And of course any other modulation source as well, as we've talked about before. Could be velocity, aftertouch, even a foot pedal if you wish. So we'll turn that off for now. That's often useful when you're doing pitch bend and stuff like that. Then we've got voice mode. We're going to either have poly or mono. I'm going to get a sound up for this. So I'm going to get up a hard lead. Let's find a nice, that's a soft lead, something sweet. What we got there? That's a perfect example of what I want to show you. Because then we have the envelope trigger mode, which is legato or restart. Now the difference is, in legato mode, if I play a note, and then play the next note without letting go of the first note, it carries on the envelope from where the last note left off. Now if I play them one after the other, you can hear that. Really cool for lead lines, like. Now, if it wasn't in legato mode, it would keep re-triggering it, and we get this sound. So legato is really quite cool. I've got pitch bend switched on, and we can turn that off. Now my pitch bend won't work. Then we've got portamento, and we can have that in legato mode, or we can have it in off. What I mean by portamento is if we turn up that quite loud, it will now drift between two notes rather than do a straight note jump. Now right now it's off. Now if I put it on, now that's extreme of course, but if you have it lower, and again we can add legato to that. Make it longer. Very nice indeed. That's exactly the same for voice B as well, so that's a complete copy of this section here. So voice A and voice B dependent. There's your pitch bend range there. 24 notes. Well, of course, we could come back down to 2. Now we have key split as well, so what we could do, we could split the keyboard, take it to C3, come to our presets, we could put an arpeggiator here at the top. Let's find one. Let's try that. Let's make sure it's turned on. Now at the bottom there, nothing at the moment, so we'll come down and we'll come to basses. Try a different one. Let's try that one. This one. And it's all done in the common section there just by using that key split. Very useful. Now the morph assign is pretty cool as well, because what we can do, we can assign controllers on our keyboard to then affect these morph buttons here. Now we'll be looking at morph in more detail later on. Go to morph assignment here and choose something else. I could use my mod wheel as a morph assign, then I could use my aftertouch as a morph assign. So every time I do anything with my mod wheel now, you'll see morph is going up there because I'm pressing and moving on my hardware synth the mod wheel right now. Could be pitch bend. Pitch bend is doing morph 2 and mod wheel is doing morph 1. So if you want to do morph assigns to your regular controllers, you can do them in there, or you can, as I say, instead go in here and learn the CC and then just use a knob. So I'm using my machine controller here, and I could learn CC on there and there. So I now have the first 4 knobs on my machine controller controlling the morph on this hybrid. Down at the bottom, this is the common setting, so we can do, as I say, a plug-in wide transpose, tuning. We can turn controller change on or off. So if you don't want to use control change, we can turn it off. So now there is no controller change coming in, because I've turned it off. I'll turn it back on again. And then channel pressure from the keyboard. So you can turn those both on or off if you don't want them. Then we can reset the assignments. If you want to clear out your assignments and go back to normal, you just press yes there. Then knob mode is quite cool. You can either use the knobs like this, where I'm holding my mouse down and then moving it around by pressing on it and then going up and down with my mouse, or we can go for circular absolute, where I get a knob and then I move my mouse like that. So I'm now drawing the shape, and it will go around. If I go around in a circle, it'll go around to the other side as well. Or we also have circular relative, which means that it's relative to the setting it's in the first place. Of course, the Alt command still works. It wants to return stuff back to its default position. If you want your tooltips on, you can have them on there, and that means if as you hover over things, it will tell you what those things do. If you don't want to use that, then we just turn it off there. Then it doesn't clutter up your user interface. Then these settings we can save as default, and then every new instance of that in session it will open up in that setting. So very useful if you want to keep your tuning the same on all versions of Hybrid across a session. So there we are. That's the common section. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next session.